This happened a few years ago, right before everything hit with the pandemic. In fact, I know the exact date because it spooked me to my core. It was February 18th, 2020. I was 14 years old, so you can imagine, this was a pretty frightening moment for a younger girl. My mother, younger brother, and I went to go see a movie. He wanted to see the new Sonic film, and I didn't really want to, so I went to see the Birds of Prey movie with Harley Quinn. I had already seen the movie, but I wanted to enjoy the movie theater popcorn and hot dog, and quite frankly, I just wanted to watch it again. I had gone off by myself to the viewing room, and it was completely empty. Just me in there, so I felt relatively safe, being able to see the whole room given I was at the very top. It was pretty amazing to have an entire room to yourself, until it's not. About halfway through the film, I went to the bathroom. The soda didn't last long, so I went to the restroom, and once again, it was only me in there. Every room was in current running progress, so nobody wanted to miss the films. As I was finishing up, there was an elderly woman at the sink. She was probably around 70. I thought that I was alone, but I suppose not. She was washing her hands right next to me. She had moved from her original spot. Now for context, before I say what she said to me, I'll give you a brief description of myself. I have black hair, green eyes, relatively sharp features, high cheekbones, and arched eyebrows. Yeah, a typical Disney villain, which I somewhat blame for her response. I think I'm somewhat attractive, but nothing to lose your marbles over. She looked at me with the most subtle but unnerving grin, still with her hands under the water but not doing anything, and said, "Young lady, you are quite a gorgeous girl." I said thank you, and she went on to say, "A beauty like that is only something an evil thing can have. Your eyes are just so hollow and soulless." She continued with that same smile. I was seriously starting to get creeped out, but I do live in the Bible Belt of Texas, so I chalked it up to her being a nut job. But then she got closer and said, without the smile, "You shouldn't have that beauty." I hurried and left as soon as I possibly could. I didn't like being alone with that woman anymore, and I waited outside the bathroom, where there were more people, but she never came out. After 5 minutes, I went back to the viewing room and was paranoid the entire rest of the film. I couldn't get that crazy lady out of my head. Like, who says that to a kid? I seriously considered getting an exorcism by a priest after that encounter. After that, I told my mother, and she didn't let me go alone until I was at least 16. I never want to see that woman again. I still get paranoid after that anytime I'm alone in a public restroom. In fact, I try to avoid them altogether. I still don't know what to make of it. Hi, you can call me Evie, and I wanted to tell my story because it was absolutely terrifying at the time. It all started in the morning of February 14th, 2018. I was in middle school and campus was buzzing with life. Guys were running around with gifts for their girlfriends. Girlfriends gave gifts to their boyfriends. Friends exchanged candies. All in all, everything seemed normal. I wasn't popular per se, but I knew everyone and everybody knew me. But I preferred to hang around with a small group of close friends, because being around too many people made me anxious. During lunch, I was hanging around my usual group of friends, which consisted of 2 girls, Alex and Mia, and 3 guys, Nico, Adrian, and Elijah. Valentine's Day of all days made me even more anxious because a lot of people would join our group because of my friend Adrian. He had attracted a lot of girls, and my friend Mia was such a sweetheart that a lot of guys wanted to date her. I began to feel overwhelmed, so I slipped out of my group and headed to a secret hiding place, which was just a bench that was out in the field, sort of hidden by some trees. No one really went there, so it was a good place to catch my breath. As I was reading my book, I hear somebody getting closer, and I look up and see this guy, Emmanuel. When I say Emmanuel, I instantly started to freak out because he always seemed to have this sort of infatuation with me. Every day he would force himself on me, randomly hugging me or trying to kiss me, telling me that he liked me, and believe it or not, I would often see him around my neighborhood. He didn't live nearby either. I decided to play it cool and continued reading when he suddenly grabbed the book out of my hands. "Hey, what the heck?" I yelled, and he simply responded with, "Sorry, I just wanted your attention." I was still angry, but I tried to calm myself down. "What do you want?" I said. "I really like you, and I want you to be my girlfriend. I swear that I'll treat you like a queen." After he said that, he handed me a box of chocolates and gave me a teddy bear. I thought it was a nice gesture, but I really felt uncomfortable whenever he was around. So I told him that even though it was sweet of him, I was already in a relationship, which wasn't true. When the words had left my mouth, he turned from being nice and calm to angry. He yelled at me saying, how dare I date somebody that wasn't him. I tried to get up and leave, but he tightly grabbed my arm and forcefully kissed me. I tried pushing him up, but he was stronger than me, so I yelled for help at the top of my lungs, and he quickly covered my mouth. So I bit my hand and I kicked him in the nuts. While he was shocked, I broke free and ran to my friend group. He was yelling behind me, but I couldn't fully understand what he was saying, probably for the better. Obviously, the duty guards heard this and immediately took action, but I just wanted to get to the safety of my group, so I kept running until I had bumped into Adrian. The rest of my group had separated in order to look for me when they had noticed my absence. I hugged him and cried my eyes out, and he only comforted me until I was ready to talk. I then told him everything when I was suddenly called into the principal's office. They wanted to know everything that had happened, and the police had been called. It was a long day and I just wanted to go home. So after I told them what had happened, I was allowed to leave for home early. I later found out that in his house, there was a shrine built for me with pictures of me doing various different things. Walking my dog, eating in my living room with my family. It was horrible and traumatizing, so I hope I never have to see Emmanuel again. Update. I bumped into him again at the store. I don't think he's changed. He acted the same way that he always did back in school. I don't even know why he was there because I had moved to LA and he and his family had stayed in Lancaster. Anyway, the store was like 5 minutes away from where I live, so I freaked out. I thought that I was over it, but on top of the unrelated trauma that I had experienced from another situation, I began having a panic attack. I don't know what to do, like, does he know where I live? Am I being paranoid? Has it really changed? What do I do? When I was in college, I was out and about with my then boyfriend. We had gone to dinner and then went to Walmart to get some typical college food so we could survive a Sunday in. I was dressed up in a casual, dressy fit. We decided to split up while we shopped, split apart, maybe to do quicker shopping, but I don't remember the exact reason why. I was wandering the grocery aisles when I noticed this girl who was about my age. In a friendly manner, we casually smile at each other and continue on shopping. It didn't seem weird at first, but I kept noticing her in the same aisles as me, and a big muscular man was never far behind us. Eventually, I texted my boyfriend and asked where he was and continued on shopping. Next thing I know, the girl approaches me and says that she loves my jacket. I say, hey thanks, I got it from Maurice's, and I try to move on. She stops me and says something along the lines of, hey, you look like you're my age and you seem really nice. I just moved here for a new job and company that my friends and I are starting. She tried to ask me questions about where I was from. I was vague and untrusting with what I said, noticing that this isn't normal. And then she said, I'm looking for more people like you and I to work for our company. It's kind of a warehouse job and I would love you to be one of our bookkeepers. And you should give me your number, I said. That's so nice of you to offer me a job, but I'm not a desk person and I already have a job that I love. Oh, that's a bummer. I thought we might work well together. Well, would you want me to give you your number so we could hang out? I would love to have a friend who could show me around the city. I realized that I wasn't getting out of this situation until my boyfriend showed up or I gave her my number. Eventually, I rattled off a fake phone number and said, "Hey, I'll catch you later, I gotta go." And then I walked away praying that my boyfriend would be near so that we could get the heck out of there. While I was looking for him and trying to call him, the girl had caught up to me and said, "I tried to call you, but it said the number was out of service." And as I tried to come up with a quick excuse and say, "Oh, maybe you typed it in wrong," she saw that my iPhone was unlocked and in my hand. She quickly snatched it and called herself on it. I was so flustered and mad at her that I snatched my phone back right when my boyfriend came around the corner. He instantly recognized that something was up and said that we needed to go. When the girl saw him approach me, she looked so disappointed to see him and stopped trying to interact. We ended up buying nothing and leaving. That night, we called our parents and the police. The police said they didn't think it was anything ill-intended, but I wasn't sure that they were probably trying to take me. I was going to switch my phone number because I was so scared. I blocked them and turned off all location access on my phone. I was too scared to go anywhere alone for a while. I even told my coach, so she knew. A couple of days later, I got a text from a random number. It was the girl. She had sent a picture of my best friend who was out drinking downtown with some of her other friends. The text said, "I met your best friend and she gave me your number because I told her that I was looking for new friends. She showed me a picture of you and I said, 'Oh, what a coincidence, I met her the other day and lost your number when I got a new phone.'" About 2 minutes later, I got a text from my best friend that said, "I gave your number to a girl who wants to make friends around here and is looking for people to join her business. And since I moved this week, I thought of you." I freaked out that she was with her and told her to get away and not leave alone with her. I stayed up worried until my best friend got home. She said that she was fine, otherwise I would have gone and picked her up. The next day, my best friend apologized and told me to block the number. My friend in her group tried to ditch her, but she kept showing up at the bars that they were at. She said the girl was relentless and texted her all night trying to get my friend to go hang out at her place. My best friend also said that when she asked about the business, the girl wouldn't give her any details other than that it was in a warehouse somewhere. It would pay her great, in town, and if she wanted a tour of it, she could take her. We never heard from this girl again. Today, I was listening to a podcast and they mentioned different type of tactics. 2 were vague jobs where they would pay you well but needed you to come meet them to give you more information, and a new-to-town girl who desperately needed new friends. I've been thinking about this all morning and I'm glad I felt uncomfortable and my friend didn't go with this girl. But I'm mostly mad the cops ignored my concern and said that it was nothing. I hope they wrote down the tip that night, but I doubt they did. This just made me super uncomfortable. I'm a single mom, and my daughter is about 4, and we stopped at a gas station on a part of town that isn't awful, but it's not great either. I usually don't go there, but I really needed gas. First, I noticed it was literally all men there that I could see from the car. They were pretty rough and scary looking. I was about to get out, but something just felt wrong. I'm really protective when it comes to my daughter, so I get really cautious taking her anywhere because we're pretty vulnerable. Well, a guy with tattoos covering every bit of his visible skin. Not even kidding, his face was covered as well. And another guy that looked really rough as well. They passed my car and I hadn't gotten out yet, but they smiled and one pulled out a huge knife and they showed it to me and started laughing, and the other one pulled out a gun and winked at me and pretended like he was gonna shoot. I was terrified. I got out of there super fast. Thank goodness we made it to the next gas station without running out of gas. It wasn't crazy creepy, but it sure felt like it to me. This happened pretty much an hour ago. I was pulling up to my house with my mom when she says, "Who is that?" Me, being confused, looks at her yard. I see somebody walking up to us. My mom said that he was trying to open the door and get into our house. This is the encounter from what I remember. "Hey, I just lost my job and I was looking for somewhere to work. Could you help?" "No, I'm sorry." "Well, could you spare a couple dollars?" "Sure, if you come to this side, I can give you a couple bucks." "Thank you." My mom gives him the money and they start to talk about how he should take it as a blessing and pass it on to somebody else. He says that my mom is an angel, and then they start to talk about other things that I can't remember. But then the man disappeared. My mom starts to drive around to find the man to make sure that he left, as she understandably doesn't feel safe getting out. She starts to drive and she calls her boyfriend and my dad. Then there's a cop car on the side of the road. "Hey, there was a middle-aged man on my doorstep with the screen door open, and then he walked up to my car and asked for work this late at night, which I found suspicious. He asked for money and I gave him some." "Where do you live at?" the cop asked. My mom gave him the address. "Okay, I'll follow you there." We drive back home with the cop and drive into our home as well. He inspects the front and backyard, but there's no one there. We finally decide that it's safe and we go back in. My mom's boyfriend is currently at her house right now and I'm shaking. Thanks for listening though. Update. I just talked to my mom and she said that he could have just been drunk and at the wrong house, as it was St. Patrick's Day, and people like to get drunk on that day even if they aren't Irish. But I highly doubt that, as I found it weird that as soon as he saw us pulling up, he came up to our car with some sob story. Take this as you will though. So about 2 years ago, I was 14 at the time and I was home with my mom. It was just the two of us, and now my mom at the time was addicted to a bunch of substances and was essentially in a coma most of the time. Nothing could wake her up. I had decided to take a bath while she slept. My bathroom door was locked, as was my mother's bedroom door, as she seemed to think that we didn't know about her addictions and kept it locked so we wouldn't find out. And the house was silent. I had only been in the bath about a half an hour before I had heard my front door open up. I assumed it was my oldest sister coming back from work, as nobody else would just walk in. But I wanted to be sure, so I texted her. Immediately, I got a worried text saying that, no, she wasn't home. Why? Was someone there? I froze. I could hear footsteps. Now, our house was small, one story, and from the front door to the bathroom door was only a small living room. I heard a weird scraping noise coming up the hallway to the bathroom. I heard the scraping stop outside of the bathroom door, and then somebody grabbed the doorknob and kept turning it very slowly side to side for about a minute. The entire time I was silent, frozen still and shaking like a leaf. I wanted to call out to my mom and ask if it was her, but I didn't want whoever it was to hear the sound and get to my mom. After a while, I didn't hear anything. I stayed in the bath for what I think was about an hour, until I heard the front door open and click shut softly. I stayed still in the bath long after the water had gone cold until I heard my sister come in and yell if I was here and if I was okay and why the door was unlocked. I got out of the bath and heard her gasp before I had come out, but when I did, I swore my blood went cold. There was a line spanning the wall of the hallway. There the paint had been cut, like somebody had trailed something sharp along the wall. Currently, the theory is that the scraping noise that I had heard was somebody trailing a knife on the wall.